Welcome back, everybody. Hope you had a good lunch and are ready to continue on with this trial. State, you may call your next witness.
Your Honor, we would call Michael Bosillo.
Please, swear or affirm that the testimony you give should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so be God.
I do. May I proceed, Your Honor?
You may.
Would you please give us your name, sir?
Michael Bosillo,
And how do you spell that last name?
Bosillo.
Mr. Bosillo, where are you currently employed?
I'm currently employed by T-Mobile cell phone company located in Dallas, Texas.
And what are your job duties there?
I'm a custodian of records testifier.
As far as, give us a little idea as far as your background, please.
I'm retired homicide investigator out of Dallas County. Worked for Arlington Police Department a number of years in their homicide unit, and then went to Dallas County DA's office where we had a death penalty unit, and I worked in that unit and supervised it till I retired after a total of 26 years.
And so you told us that you serve as a custodian of records for T-Mobile?
Yes, sir.
And have you had the opportunity to review records in this case related to some specific cell phone numbers?
Yes, sir, I have.
And I would specifically ask you related to 904-713-7378, 904-805-6825, 904-236-7601, and 904-405-5248.
Yes, sir.
All right, and those records that T-Mobile maintains related to those numbers that I just named off, are those kept in the regular course of business?
Yes, sir, they are.
And is it the regular practice to keep these reports related to these cell phone records?
Yes, sir.
And in fact, isn't it actually required by federal law?
That's correct.
Your Honor, at this time, I would introduce what has been identified for identification as states 22J, 22F, 22E. Actually, I could have shown it to you first. May I approach?
You may.
Thank you. Yes, sir, I recognize these.
And these are phone records that you testified are kept in the regular course of business by T-Mobile?
They are.
And at this time, I'm to introduce states 22E, F, H, I, and J.
All right, any objection?
No objection,
And they'll be admitted as state's exhibits.
Your Honor, Richardson, 541 through 545. For Hayes, it will be it'll be 538 through 542.
All right, those exhibits will be admitted into evidence. You may continue, Mr. Hutton.
Mr. Bosillo, you told us that you serve as a custodian of records, but you also play a larger role. You said something about interpretation.
Yes, sir. I provide information in the form of interpreting and explaining cell tower activity, the interplay between the cell phone, the tower, and the switch, how they function with one another and provide the records that we subsequently use.
And so, when you talk about that you have these records that you can subsequently use, can you use the telephone records related to cell phone and text message usage in order to locate where the individual was at the time that they made the call?
Yes, sir, we certainly can.
And if you could explain to the jury how that works.
Sure. Well, there's three components you have to have in order to understand how all of this works. So it's relatively simple. You have your cell phone, which gives out a moderately weak signal. So it has to reach out to the strongest, with the emphasis on the strength, and closest tower. Once it does, then that tower captures the signal and authenticates the call. It then shoots it over to the switch. Now, the switch is the gatekeeper. It's very much like a keyboard, like a computer. The switch is the brains of the computer, and your keys are equivalent to like towers. So it operates and controls a lot of towers. Once it receives that information, it continues in the processing of the call. Then it reaches out to the strongest, nearest tower adjacent to the destination number. And once done, then it's completed. And keep in mind, it's taken me a while to explain all this, but this all happens at the speed of light, 186,000 miles a second. So you can just only imagine how rapid all of this happens.
So, for instance, you're probably not familiar with this city as much as I am, but if I'm at the Jaguar Stadium down the street, and you're here in this courthouse, and I have a cell phone, and you're on your cell phone, and I call you on the cell phone, and you answer on your cell phone, what would we see as far as being able to determine the location of where we are?
Well, we would find what the strongest, nearest tower was. It captured that call, and then it processed it through the switch and then went to the destination number. So you'd be able to say it was at this particular cell, we call them cell site. That's where the tower itself is. Keep in mind, 360-degree coverage area from the dead center radiating out to the edge is approximately 2 miles, give or take maybe a quarter of a mile either way. That's the range, that's the radius. So once it does that, if you're in that area, then you know you're within that tower's strength. Furthermore, that tower is also divided into what they call sectors, and those are like pie, wedge-shaped pieces of the pie. If you were to look at a clock, like you could start in the dead center, go up to the 10, start in the dead center, go up to the 2, start in the dead center, go down to the 6. You see how you would have 3 equal triangular pieces of the pie. Those are called sectors. And what they do, they'll further let you know where the phone is within that entire area. So now you know it's in one of those 3, and sometimes they divide it into as many as 6 or 9.
So the records that are created and maintained by T-Mobile, does that also include, related to a specific call, a latitude and a longitude?
Oh, precisely. We provide both latitude, longitude, and a physical address. Now, the latitude and longitude of the tower, the cell site, is the most accurate, because sometimes it may say it's at 100 Main Street, and you go to 100 Main Street and there's nothing there, but you may see a tower 100 yards behind it. So that's the nearest street address they can give. But the precise location is the latitude and longitude. And of course, everyone can relate to street and city and state locations.
So when you're talking about latitude and longitude, as you just explained, does that mean that if you are to analyze the records, that I could actually map? Like if you made the call in Jacksonville, that I could map where within Jacksonville, not saying exactly, but pretty close to where I made a call or sent a text message, for that matter?
That's correct.
Now, is there a difference between the process as far as being able, the latitude and longitude, and being able to map for what we call SMS or text data?
No difference. It's for voice communication, SMS. It's not it's not reliable for data, but voice and SMS it is.
For voice and SMS. So if I'm texting or I'm calling, then that's reliable as far as being able to map.
Correct.
All right. And you have reviewed the records, certain specific calls that we asked you to related to the exhibits that we have introduced into evidence, which in Richardson's case is 541 through 545 and 538 through 542 in Hayes. And you've reviewed those records related to some specific calls that we're interested in talking about.
That's correct.
And you've also had the opportunity to review mapping related to those calls.
Also correct.
Your Honor, could I approach the witness?
You may.
I want to show you what has been marked as Exhibit 452 in evidence. And also show you what has been marked for identification as State's Exhibit 16X.
Yes, sir.
Do you recognize these?
I do.
And have you had an opportunity to review these?
I have.
And have you had the opportunity to review the information that is mapped as far as specific locations and times related to the specific T-Mobile records?
That's correct, sir.
At this time, I would introduce State's 16X into evidence and allow us to discuss what has already been entered as 452.
Any objections?
I'll just take a look at it so I can add it to my notes, Your Honor.
You may. Ms. Wright? All right, with no objections, it'll be
No objection, Your Honor.
admitted.
Now I want to show you, we've entered all of the records on these DVDs, but I've taken excerpts that I want to talk to you specifically about.
Yes, sir.
I want to talk to you about telephone number 904-713-7378.
Yes, sir.
And the subscriber information is contained on this page here.
Oh, yes,
Do you
sir.
see it? I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. I
You see it? Yeah. And that's maintained for all cell phone numbers.
It is.
Now, I want to talk to you specifically about some of these headings. If you could briefly walk us through, and for purposes so that the jury understands, this is really supposed to be one long line of information, but we've had to stack it on top of each other in order to fit it on the screen.
I understand.
So if you could tell, let's go to, on this particular case, 490. This is the one at the very top. And let's talk about what we have. We have a date category. And what is that?
Yes, sir. The date obviously speaks for itself. It's the month, the day, and year. Want me to proceed?
Yes,
Just
let's go on
scroll.
through the time.
Scrolling to the right, the time is hours, minutes, seconds. That's military time. Keeping in mind they utilize UTC, Universal Time Coordinated, which means that they were stamped in Greenwich, England. So in standard time on the East Coast, you would have to subtract 5 hours. And as you move to the west, you go to 6 in Central, 7 in Mountain, and 8 in the Pacific to get the actual time we're talking about.
So on this particular entry at 490, I would need to subtract 5 hours from the 22, which takes me to 1732 military time.
Military time.
And then I'd need to subtract the 2 for military time to make it 532.
Correct.
5:32 p.m.
Correct.
All right? If we could continue on.
Duration is the length of the call. Now, anytime you see 60, and these are in seconds, anytime you see 60, that means that was an SMS, short service message or text message. The other numbers will reflect a voice communication.
All right, the call type?
Call type is, you've got first one, mobile station terminating SMS in mobile station center. What that is it tells you the type of call it is. There's basically outgoing calls, voice calls, incoming voice calls. There's outgoing text messages and incoming or terminating text message. On this first one, you can see where it shows after terminating SMS, that's a text message. It means someone sent the target number a text message. Direction, two types, outgoing and incoming. The first one being a terminating, which means one of y'all sent me a text, that means it's terminating to my number. If I was to send one of y'all a text, it would be outgoing. Calling number, this first one you'll see 122, that means that they're checking their voicemail. And the one right below it means voicemail is letting you know, hey, you need to check your voicemail, you've had a call come in. Any other of those numbers mean that that's the number that you're calling. You see where it says calling number. Dialed number, the same thing it explains. You scroll down about a dozen numbers, you'll see the first time. The reason you don't see any for those first 8 or 9 is because it was a text. Then the next column, called number, that's the number that's being called. Destination number is the number that's reached. Usually it's one and the same as the number that's being called. The only time it'd be different is if you forwarded your phone to a third number. And it would show you dialed one number but end up rotating to another number. IMSI, International Mobile Subscriber Identity, that's the, I believe it's 15-digit number associated with the subscriber. Anytime you make a phone purchase, get into a program, you're provided with a subscriber identifying number, which is unique to you. The next is IMEI, International Mobile Equipment Identifier. This is the same principle with your actual phone. It's a serial number, again, unique to the actual phone. Completion code, that means if it was completed in the network, or if it wasn't, it'll show abnormal. And then whether or not it was answered, self-explanatory. Service code will show if it went to voicemail. There's a series of different numbers and letters. It'll show, you'll see 11, say for instance, it means that the voicemail lets you know you had a voicemail, but it also showed caller ID. It's letting you know who's calling you. Then, lost my place. Okay, disconnecting party. One of 3 things. A call can end by the caller ending it, the called person ending it, or the network ending it. And it'll indicate which of those 3. Service indicator, that's just simply a matter of it's in connection actually with the service code. SMS delivery status, again, that's typically blank because it is a text message. Switch name, as I explained, I think we've got a total of 55 switches throughout the country because we have an agreement with other cell phone carriers of reciprocity. So a switch will cover a lot of towers and a lot of area. These first 3 letters and subsequent numbers reflect the number identified with the switch. LTE site ID, These are the actual sites, the cell site I was talking about, where the call actually is reaching out and grabbing the number. Those are numbers associated with that. First, LAC, location area code. All these towers in a particular area code, and it'll show what that area code is. First cell ID, it's the same as the first LTE, only a different type of electronic communication. It does the same thing. That's what I'm saying. And then first tower azimuth, we only monitor outgoing. When you start somewhere and you go somewhere, you'll start at a particular location, a tower, and it'll monitor that. And then if you go, say, from here to Miami, you'll traverse a lot of towers and a lot of switches because it's a long distance. We don't provide that information. Now, what we will provide is the ending information. So that's where you get the first tower azimuth, and later on you'll see last tower. It means it started at this location and ended at this one. Now, azimuth, what azimuth is the point of orientation. That's where the antenna is pointed. And again, think in terms of those three wedge-shaped pieces of the pie. If you take, for instance, the first one, they almost always start north, and like this. Just imagine the middle of that, that's where a beam, that antenna's going right out through the front, okay? And you'll have 120 degree total. You got 60 on the left, 60 on the right. That azimuth is your point of orientation, where the beam goes out and that information is collected.
So when we move on to W, we're talking about, this is where we start to get into latitude and longitude, and the rest of the information in here is essentially what you use in order to map the call. Is that accurate?
Very accurate, yes, sir.
Okay. Let's talk about the map. All right, so you have had the opportunity, as you said already, to review the records related to the specific times and locations plotted on this map.
Yes, sir.
Now, it looks like we're pointing to the red dots, which say, like, at the very top, 65108. Circling that one for you.
Yes, sir.
What is the 65108 talking about?
That's a number associated with a tower location. These towers have anywhere from 4 to 5 digit identifiers on them.
And so what are these times and locations telling us about where the person was located when they received a call at this time?
That phone was within that radius we were talking about at that location at that given time.
So at 5:34, this person was located somewhere around this tower right here.
That's correct.
And that would be true also for what we're seeing here, 6264 at 630, 631, 633.
That's also correct.
All right. And the same for the others.
Correct.
All right, and that was for 904, 713, 7378.
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's talk about 904, 805, 6825. You've also reviewed these records.
Yes, sir.
All right. And this is the subscriber information associated with it.
Yes, sir.
All right, and we don't need to go through all these fields, but again, these are highlighted fields related to a section of the records related to what was plotted on the map.
Precisely.
Okay. And you reviewed these for accuracy.
Yes.
And so let's talk about for this number. All right, so at tower 6261, we're seeing a whole bunch of times kind of tied in together. What if anything does that tell us?
Well, as you can see, these most of them are SMS, text messages, with a few voice messages kind of interspersed there. And again, you start at the time. That's when the text message was either sent or received, which will indicate on the call detail sheet, and what it was. Was it a text message or was it a voice?
Right, sir. I want to move on to telephone number 904-236-7601. This again is subscriber information. And this is specific times that we asked you to review for accuracy in plotting.
That's correct.
And here's the map. And so we're seeing here that right around 512 that this individual was close to Tower 6264.
That's correct.
And that at 511 this person was close to Tower 1525.
Very much so.
Now you didn't actually create these maps, is that correct?
That's correct.
That was actually plotted by the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office by the person by the name of Cornelius Rivera.
That's correct.
But you reviewed the work and confirmed the accuracy.
Yes, I can definitely confirm these locations as T-Mobile cell sites with my information.
So what she did matched up with what you did.
Precisely.
All right. Now, I want to talk about this telephone number, 904-485-7477. Now, I'd like to ask you about the activation date associated with this telephone number. When was that?
February 1st, 2016.
So does that mean we would not have any phone records or be able to map any locations prior to February the 1st, 2016?
That's correct.
All right, and this is the last one that I want to ask you about. And this is for telephone number 904-405-5248.
Yes, sir.
So the map that I'm going to show you has a bunch of plots on it. But I'm interested in asking you about one entry. But before I ask you about that entry, you've confirmed that the other entries on the map are also accurate.
Yes, that's correct.
All right, let's talk about this one. When did this one occur?
This one occurs on January 29th, 2016.
In what time did it occur? Was the call made or received? And if you could tell us, break it down into Eastern Standard
Sure.
Times.
22:59 and 12 seconds. That's military time, or 10:59 p.m. You've got to subtract 5 hours, so 5:59.
5:59 p.m.
Correct.
And just so we make sure it's clear, I think it probably is from the other maps, but all the maps have been converted to Eastern Standard Time.
That's correct, sir.
Okay. All right, and you reviewed this this entry. Tell us about this call as far as generally what we have
Yes,
here.
sir. Well, at that time, I'd indicated it was a terminating incoming call. As you can see, you can scroll to the right.
You can actually mark on yours if you want.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't realize they had a monitor there too. Yeah, if you go to your right, you can see direction means incoming. Subsequently, that's why it's terminating. And the calling number was actually 904-429-5783. And the called number was 904-405-5248. Then it had that subscriber identifying number and the cell phone identifying number. Then it shows completion code, abnormal completion. And if you scroll over to disconnecting party, it meant the network disconnected the call. So it was subsequently unanswered. However, the service call, you see that 11? It showed it's a caller ID presentation. So it let them know who was trying to reach them with that code.
And so the person who received this call didn't answer it.
That's correct.
All right. Let's talk about, I don't really want to discuss in great detail some of the mapping to the left, but I do want to talk about the call we just talked about, 5:59 p.m. What can we tell us about this call and as far as where it was located, as far as the individual who was using the phone?
The actual call came out, it was initiated 5:59 p.m. at cell site, T-Mobile cell site, 5644.
Thank you, sir. Your Honor, I do not have any further questions for this witness.
All right, Cross.
No cross.
Cross, Ms. Wright.
Sir, I want to ask you a question. According to this map, which is found on exhibit, I'm not sure which exhibit it is, that the map that indicates Howell, can you see that, sir? At the very top, Howell is the name in parentheses.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am. Howell.
Okay. Now, on this map at 5:11 p.m., there's an SMS that pings off the 6264 tower. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And there's also another SMS that pings off the 1525 tower at the same time. Did you see that, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you explain that for us?
Yes, this is broken down to hours and minutes, not seconds. It's not uncommon at all to receive or send text messages within a portion of a second. So you can have them a second apart, even less than a second apart, and it'll still show that two SMS signals were either sent or received.
So are you saying that the person would have traveled that far within a minute's worth of time?
No, I'm simply saying based on, the SMS information that it's not uncommon for that signal to be sent initially at that time, and it may have to wait if for some reason. It's very much like you go get your mail. If a mailman comes by and he puts the mail in your box, it's there, just like this other SMS signal was sent, but you don't really receive it till you open your mailbox and retrieve your mail.
Okay, so the times reflected on the map may mean that you're receiving the text message at a later time than when it was sent. Is that correct? At a later time than when it was sent.
Yes, that's possible.
Okay, and additionally, you indicated that the radius around each tower is 2 miles. Is that correct?
Approximately, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, at the bottom of the map, there is a marker that indicates miles. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So if you were to, and I'm going to just pick a random one, it would really be, the circle around the tower would be like that, approximately.
I saw this.
If the bottom if the bottom is to scale and it represents miles, the circle around and I picked this one right here. Can you see that?
Sure, yes, ma'am.
the circle would be about that big, not really small, is that correct?
That appears to be, based on this scale, it appears to be approximately 2 miles.
Okay, so the person could be on that my far left, your far right end of that tower, or they could be on the other side of the tower, is that correct?
Correct.
And they could be at the very top of that tower, or at least this circle, or they could be at the very bottom. Is that also true?
That's also true.
I don't have any further questions.
Redirect. May this witness be excused? All right, thank you, sir. You're excused.
Thank you.
All right, state, call your next witness.
Your Honor, prior to calling the next witness, I wanted to introduce a business record related to some Sprint.
Okay. And you're offering those?
I'm offering these.
All right, any objection? All right, that would be admitted as the next state's exhibit number.
It'll be Richardson 546 and Hayes 543.
Your Honor, we would call to the stand Cornelius Rivera.
Right here in the middle, man.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give should be true, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Would you please introduce yourself to the jury?
My name is Cornelius Rivera.
And Ms. Rivera, how are you currently employed?
I work for the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office.
And I'm sorry, go ahead and tell us what you do for them.
I work in the crime analysis unit, and I'm a public safety analyst.
When you say you work in the crime analysis unit, tell us what that entails.
We are a unit, basically we support pretty much every aspect of the agency. I am currently assigned to the homicide unit, so I support the homicide investigation.
So tell us some of the duties as a crime analyst that you do.
What I mainly do is I assist the detectives, assisting them with identifying persons of interest or people associated to a case, and I create cell phone maps and analyze them as well.
And so you talked about what I'm interested in speaking about. You make cell phone maps. In fact, you made cell phone maps related to some T-Mobile records that the jury just heard about. Is that correct?
Yes.
And did you also make some cell phone maps related to Sprint records?
Yes.
All right. Tell us about mapping as far as how many maps have you made in your experience with them?
I've made over 160 cell site maps.
And so as a crime analyst, you have to be familiar with not just one particular company that operates in Jacksonville as far as cell phone companies, but essentially all of them.
Yes.
And so are you able to review and interpret the information contained within the cell phone records that are produced?
Yes.
And does that include specifically the latitude and longitude and times related to when calls are made and location data as far as where they were made?
Yes.
All right. May I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
I want to show you what has already been entered into evidence as states 543 and 546 related to Sprint cell phone records for Sanquon Bradford. And have you had the opportunity to review those records that were produced by Sprint?
Yes, I have.
I'm also going to show you what has been marked for identification states 22K. You can tell us what that is?
Yes. This is a map. It's a Sprint cell site map. It includes voice calls from the call detail records, as well as some text messages from PCMD records. So they're both from this target number's
And the
cell
target
phone
number
records.
is?
904-226-2593.
And so did you review the records from Sprint as far as plotting the latitude and the longitude and reviewing the times and dates for the calls in order to make that map?
Yes.
And at this time, I would move to introduce states next exhibit, states for identification 22K.
Any objection?
There we go.
Will be so admitted.
Will be Hayden, exhibit number 544, or Richardson, will be exhibit number 547.
All right, so this is the record from Sprint verifying that it's telephone number 904-226-2593, and that was State's Exhibit 22G. For the record, I can't remember what the exhibit number is. I apologize, Your Honor. 22G.
It's on Hayes 543 and Richardson 546.
543 and 546. All right, this shows that this is for that telephone number. All right, again, the records that you received are all encompassing as far as a lot of dates, a lot of times, and so this is what I'll call a snapshot of those records related to the date of January 29th, 2016.
Yes.
And if you could tell us what we're looking at and how you use that in order to do the mapping.
Okay, the top part is the SMS estimated location of the SMS, which is text messages. And the bottom is the call detail records, which are the voice calls that were made during that day.
So the records that we're looking at that would be starting with 1 and then move from 1325 to 1337, those are text messages or SMS.
Yes.
And then the one below that, 348 through 361, we're talking about actual voice calls.
Yes.
In the times on this one, so we just had testimony about UTC time and military time. With regard to the Sprint records, are we talking about Eastern Standard Time?
Yes, these are on Eastern Standard Time.
So the times reflected in these records are the same as we know it to be right now. So it's 5:33 p.m. on the records, it's 5:33 p.m. here.
Correct.
And so you use this information in order to create your cell phone map?
Yes.
All right, so with regard to the ones in the blue, these are the voice calls?
Correct.
And with the voice calls, we're talking about this tower was used right here.
Yes.
And then we also have in the red what we're calling the SMX, meaning text messages.
Yes.
And so the times of 5:36, 5:33, and 6:20 p.m. The location data on these, this is approximate location based on the information contained within the records as far as latitude and longitude.
Correct.
But we know that it was at least hitting off of this tower right here, 5596, as far as determining location.
Yes.
You know, I don't have any further questions.
Cross.
No cross, Your Honor.
That's right.
Ma'am, with regard to the cell phone map that's labeled Bradford, can you tell us what the radius of the cell tower that each of these calls is pinging off of?
No, I cannot.
Okay, so you don't know, like, from where that cell tower would grab this call, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, so you can only say it was pinging off that tower.
Yes.
Now, additionally, can you indicate to us whether or not the phone was receiving or sending a text message at the times located at 5:36, 5:33, and 6:20?
That would be found on the cell phone records that he showed earlier. I don't know if they're still up there.
Okay, so we're looking at Exhibit 22G. What number is it for Mr. Richardson's case? Exhibit number? 546?
For G, yes.
Okay,
Hayes, 543, and Richardson, 546.
okay. With regard to 5:33 PM, is that being sent or received?
This snippet doesn't show me whether if it was incoming or outgoing, unfortunately.
Okay, and so with regard to all three, we can't determine based on this snippet whether it was incoming or outgoing?
Correct.
I don't have any further questions.
All right, redirect.
So just to be clear, I pulled out this small section myself in order to show you, but there's a larger record contained within the CD that's been entered into evidence that has the answer as to whether it was incoming or outgoing.
Exactly, yes.
And whether it's incoming or outgoing has no influence as far as the location mapping.
It does not.
No more questions, no further questions, Your Honor.
All right, may this witness be excused?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rivera.
Thank
You're
you.
excused. State, call your next witness.
Detective Bosillo.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Good afternoon. Will you please introduce yourself to the juries and spell your last name?
I am Detective C.R. Lombardozzi, Lombardozzi,
And where are you employed, sir?
with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office.
How long have you worked there?
Over 15 years.
Where are you currently assigned?
To the Computer Forensic Investigations Unit.
And what do you do in that particular unit?
I am a digital forensic examiner
How long have you done that?
since March 22nd of 2014.
Can you briefly go over the training and experience that you have in order to fulfill that position?
Yes. I'm a graduate of the United States Secret Service National Computer Forensics Institute and a multi-program graduate of the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center's Cyber Division. I have also attended training through the National White Collar Crime Center, the National Institute of Justice, and many other programs around the United States. I'm certified as a Florida Department of Law Enforcement instructor, and I've given, received, and earned training through digital forensics.
Okay. And have you been asked by one of the homicide detectives to examine a phone in this particular case?
Yes, ma'am.
If I may approach your
You may.
I'm going to show you what's been entered into evidence as State's Exhibit 456. Let us know if you recognize that exhibit, and be careful, there's some staples sticking out.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay. And is that the phone that you examined in this particular case?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Okay. Can you please describe for the jurors what type of examination you did on State's Exhibit 456?
That was a chip-off acquisition examination.
What does that mean?
That means that at the time we examined the device, we intended to plug the phone into a computer that would extract data from it, although the phone was swipe code protected. And at the time, our technologies only allowed us to extract data from that particular model when it was not security lock protected. So essentially, we had to melt the microchip off of the cell phone and extract data that way.
What does the term forensically sound mean?
Forensically sound means that no data is altered or modified during the time that we're extracting our forensic image.
So the type of examination that you did on this phone, did you in fact get data off of that cell phone?
Yes, ma'am, we did.
Okay. What kind of cell phone is that?
That is a ZTE model Z820.
If that phone, State's Exhibit 456, was hooked up to a Bluetooth stereo, based upon your examination, what would appear on the Bluetooth radio?
Z820.
So Z820?
Yes, ma'am.
Was that, you know how you can open up your phone and change it to London Kite's iPhone?
Yes.
Was that done to that particular phone?
I can't say that it was or it was not. However, to test and validate that, we took in our office the exact same model from another phone that we took from the police property room that was being disposed of. We forensically we factory reset the phone, turned it back on, and it was ZTE. So we have to conclude that ZTE is the default name for that Bluetooth transmission.
Okay. And so this had a default on it?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. May I personally witness now?
You may.
Detective, I'm going to show you a number of videos that we've seen in this case. I'm going to end with that one. I'm going to show you what's been admitted into evidence as State's Exhibit 407. Do you recognize that disc?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, did you create it for us?
Yes, I did.
And the file name that's associated with the disc that ends in 164109, were you able to, from your analysis of that phone, determine the date and time of that particular video?
Yes.
And when it was made?
Yes, I was.
And are those attached to these videos to say, in particular, this one, 1/18/2016?
Yes, ma'am.
And it has a UTC -5. Can you explain that?
UTC is Universal Coordinated Time. Essentially, that is the accepted coordination of time across the globe. Essentially, UTC -5 means that we were in Eastern Standard Time and we were not in Daylight Saving Time at that point.
Okay. And so did you do this for all of these discs?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 405. Did you do it for that video?
Yes, ma'am.
And 405, when was that created?
January 16, 2016 at 12:05.
Okay. And what about State's Exhibit 411? And appears to be some guns on a bed. Is there a little preview of that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When was that created?
January 23rd, 2016 at 1:24.
Okay. Now, may I publish one of these videos? That is State's Exhibit 404.
You may.
Detective, I'm going to publish the last one. I'm going to leave this up here with you so you can
Okay.
tell us what time it was.
Sure.
And Detective, if you can just double check me, I'm asking for the time of what we see. Oh, you can't see anything. Hold on. Okay. Detective, I have not opened up the file on State's Exhibit 404, and we see 6/27/2018. Is that the same time that's reflected on your forensic download of this phone?
No.
Okay, why is that?
That is because the computer, essentially when files are created on a computer, on a cell phone, they're created on the date that the file is created there. So, for example, if I create a file on my computer today, a Microsoft Word document, for example, and I edit it tomorrow, the creation date would be today and the modified date would be tomorrow. However, if I burn that to a disk and give you the disk 2 weeks later, the created date would have a created date of when the disk is created for you. The modified date would be before. So that would explain why we have a modified date of then and a new creation date of when the disk was made.
Okay. And I'm interested in the last file that ends in 094822. Can you tell the members of the jury when this video was made?
January 16th, 2016 at 9:46 a.m.
Okay. I'm just going to play a small snippet of it to remind us.
What's up, Facebook? Lord knows there's a lot of fuck niggas in this world. Get hit with that Glock, niggas dumb as fuck. Damn though, boy, nigga got some shit on my mind, man. I wanna fuck over a nigga right now. That shit crazy though. I ain't gonna let that bullshit get to me though.
Detective, Your Honor, at this time I'd ask to excuse the Richardson jury.
All right, ladies and gentlemen of Mr. Richardson's jury, please follow Ms. Crawford out. We'll be back with you in just a moment.
Thank you. Your Honor, may I approach again?
Yes, ma'am, you may.
All right, I'm going to show you what's been admitted into evidence. These are more videos that we've already seen, but I just want to establish that you did the same thing for all of these videos, okay, which is the forensic date, that is when these videos were created on that ZTE cell phone.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Showing you State's Exhibit 530. Do you recognize this disc?
Yes.
Did you prepare it for us?
I did.
And then when was that one created?
January 26, 2016 at 10:52 p.m.
If you can maybe speak to the
sorry.
microphone. Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Apologize. All right, and then State's Exhibit 412, you recognize this disc?
Yes.
Did you create this disc for us?
Yes, ma'am.
When was it created? When was this file created?
January 23rd, 2016 at 1:32 p.m.
And State's Exhibit 409, when was it created?
January 18th, 2016, 8:57 p.m.
And I'm going to ask you, I'm not going to go through all of these, but do you recognize, did you do that same thing for all of these discs?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And I'm showing the witness State's Exhibit 406, 403, and 410 for the record. Did you also, the forensic download that you did of this phone, does it give you things of interest like web searches and text messages that get sent in and out of the phone?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to show you what's, if I may approach.
You may.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 21W. Have you seen this in electronic form?
Yes, ma'am, I have.
Okay, have you gone through each one of these? These were slides.
Yes, I have.
All right, do you recognize them?
Yes, ma'am.
Did it come through your forensic download and report?
Yes, it did.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, the state seeks to introduce 21W as the next number of exhibit for Hayes.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, it will be so admitted as State's Exhibit number
545.
545.
Thank you. If I may publish it.
You may.
Detective, when you were looking through the PowerPoint prior to coming to court, are there sections of this where you can basically look through a timeline? That is, no matter what they were doing, searching the web, texting somebody, maybe downloading something, does it give you a timeline of events in that phone?
The report does, yes.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to show you a timeline that is January 7th, 2016. Can you tell us what we're looking at here? What does instant messages mean?
Instant message would have been a message from the phone other than a text message.
Okay.
And when we see from, that number is consistent with the numbering convention for a Facebook profile ID.
All right. Can you read that big block there?
Big bro, IK, I might no be gang or be on the block with y'all, but bro, I'll take a nigga true there. About all y'all, I'm gone, blow for y'all. OML, I got so much love and respect for you boys, and big bro, I'll slide with ya. That's why I stay low key. And make sure niggas don't know who I am, so if I drill, they ain't even go see it coming, OML.
Okay, and then the rest of that, so that was in incoming messages and 2 outgoing messages after that?
Incoming, outgoing, incoming, outgoing.
Okay. Showing you instant messages on 1/11/2016. Can you tell us what that says? From that number, does it have a name associated with it?
The first one is Crack-a-Jack.
Okay, and is that sent from this phone out?
Yes.
Okay. And then what does it say?
For show, I already know, cuh. You got a drum, dough.
All right. Can you tell us what this application installed is on January 15th?
This would disclose that the Facebook application was installed. Excuse me.
Okay. And on January 15th, this search item, what is that?
Facebook Live.
(115) and (2213) what is this? It's different than the instant message.
SMS is the simple message service. It's essentially sending a text message from your phone.
And on, I asked you related to that video, it was January 16th, 2016 at 9:48 a.m., is that correct?
I don't remember which video that was. I'm sorry.
The third video, the one that actually played.
Yes.
Okay. Now I'm asking you about this text message that we see that came in on January 16th, 2016 at 10:47. Is that AM?
Yes, it would be.
Okay. What does that say?
Them boys 911 looking.
On January 16th, 2016, what does searched items mean?
Searched items are items that were, or search terms rather, that were searched in some way or fashion through the phone.
Okay. And what was searched for at that time?
How to load an AK-47 drum.
On January 18th, this call log, you said before that the instant message that was associated with Facebook, can you explain the difference between this call log and these numbers that seem to be associated with Facebook?
Right, so the from has a number, and again, that number is consistent with the Facebook's numbering convention for a Facebook profile ID. So essentially, the call log would likely be a call for Facebook audio as opposed to the live video.
Okay. And was that call to someone?
Yes, ma'am. Suge Nation.
Actually, let me skip past that one. All right. On January 21st, 2016, there's that number associated with Facebook, and these are instant messages. Kyon Rondo Pepper, would that be the person that was sending something into this phone?
That would be the name of the person.
I'm sorry, this would be sending out. I apologize.
Yeah, so for the incoming message, the first one, that would be the label that the Facebook profile was given for that person.
Okay. Is that another instant message?
Yes, ma'am.
On January 21st, 2016, what does web history mean?
Web history is essentially a repository of websites that have been visited through the web browser on the phone.
Okay. And was this website, which one was it?
Folio, T on top of T, FT, Cracker J, JB, The Runts, Soldier Capone, and Los, prod by OG Digital Arts.
Okay. On January 22nd, 2016, was this message sent out from this phone?
Yes, ma'am.
And what does it say?
LOL, man, you need to come hang with the real gang.
And then on January 22nd, 2016, was this sent to this phone?
Yes.
What did it say?
I like to hang with lame people, not hot niggas.
All right. I'm sorry, I'm going to fast forward a little bit. All right. On January 28, 2016, is this a series of messages?
This is a series of text messages, yes.
Okay. The phone number that sent this message in, can you tell us what that phone number is?
904-226-2593.
All right. And the time?
This was January 28th, 2016, just after 36 minutes after midnight.
Okay, so 12:36?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Can you go down the list of the ones that associate, I know there's a couple in there that don't, but that come from the 226 number?
You want the times?
No, what it says.
Okay.
Stunner for sale.
Yep, Stunner for sale, and then all the ones that end in, which one, 226?
226. And then the next one, does it say, does the phone send out this outgoing
Yes.
asking a question?
What kind?
Okay. And then,
JB got it.
yes,
And
and
then
what time
JB
was that sent?
That was at 12:45.
Okay, was
AM.
that kind of less than 10 minutes after it was sent in?
Yes.
And then again to this phone number, was that sent out?
Yes, ma'am.
What does it say?
All right.
Now, after that time, that is 12, on that same date, are there web histories?
Yes, there are.
Can you explain what this web history is?
This is the stolen license plate search for the Florida Department of Law Enforcement Public Access System.
Okay. We didn't put the clickable form, but did you click on this? What does it go to?
It goes to FDLE's website to search for stolen vehicles.
All right. On January 28th, 4:37, what is the search here?
The web history is the same.
I'm sorry, I said
Stolen-
search. I apologize.
Yeah,
Web
the-
history.
The stolen license plate search result for FDLE's public access system.
And then directly after that, is there a text message outgoing from that phone?
Yes.
What does it say?
I'm in the white car.
Okay. And then about 40 minutes later, is there another web search, a web history for the stolen license plate for FDLE?
Yes, ma'am.
And then 1/28/2016, can you tell us what this is? What's cookies and the web history?
So cookies are files that are placed in a web browser so that your browser will remember certain things. For example, you might go online and search for a pair of shoes, and then 4 or 5 days later you go to a website to read the news, and there are advertisements in there specifically for the shoes that you looked at. That's the type of information that is stored. Also, information for shopping carts. If you go to a website like Amazon, type in something, add to cart, and then you don't purchase it, the next time you go in, it's still there.
Okay. Based upon your review of this phone, was News4Jax, was this the first time it had been visited?
On that date, I don't remember if it was the first time or not.
Okay. January 28, 2016, another search for the stolen license tag.
Yes.
And then now January 29, 2016 at 10, it looks like 10:53 a.m. Is that an incoming text message to this phone?
No, this is an incoming instant message
I'm sorry,
through
instant
Facebook.
message.
Yes, ma'am.
And then the outgoing from that?
Yes, ma'am. LOL, man, always.
On January 29th at 11:16 a.m., can you read for us the instant messages that go down in this particular slide?
You finna go trade? No, why? None, I thought you was finna get a GMC truck.
And then 129 at 11:18,
No, Ion, no yet.
and then at 12:33 at that same date, is there another search for a stolen tag?
There is.
On January 29 to 12:33, are there more text messages?
Yes.
January 29, 2016, at 20:33, is there web history for this location, which is Jaso response to an undetermined death
Yes.
on the east side?
Yes, ma'am.
On January 29th at 8:45, is there a text message into this phone asking a question?
Yes. You
What
straight?
does it say?
You straight?
And the response?
Yeah, I'm straight.
Is there a call after that, that is at 10:05 p.m. on that same day?
Yes, an incoming call.
Is that from the 226-5382 number?
Yes, ma'am.
On January 29th, 2016, are there searched items?
Yes, there are.
And what is the searched item?
FDLE tag search. And there's also documented, there's also web history for the search as well.
Okay. On January 29th at 10:35, is there more web history for the stolen tag?
Yes, ma'am.
At 11:42, is the same thing for a stolen tag?
Yes.
All right. January 30th, 2016, at 1:14 a.m., what does this outgoing message from this phone say?
I ain't even got no car, M.
Is that RN, like right now? Or is that an, oh, it's an N. Okay, sorry. January 30th, 2016 at 11:29. Is this an incoming?
It's an incoming text message.
Okay. On January 31st, 2016, from that 226, I'm sorry, I'm going to move to the next one. On January 31st, 2016, is there text messages outgoing and incoming on this phone?
There are.
Okay. What does it say?
All right, but you got a 26 for sale? No, trade. That message is twice.
Okay.
Following, I am a C, what's up?
On February 1st, 2016, what is this?
These are internet artifacts for News for Jacks.
On February 1st at 1:32, are these, again, news artifacts?
Yes, ma'am.
On February 1st does it continue on?
It does.
I want to zero in on this one. The web history. What does that show?
February 1st, 2016 at 1:35 p.m., a 22-month-old's murderer mobilizes sheriff and community.
Okay. When you, may I first the witness?
You may.
Showing the witness State's Exhibit 453. This photo, did you obtain a photo similar to that? I mean, I think we blew it up, but was that photo on this defendant's phone?
Yes, it was.
Can you hold it up for the jurors? So that photo was on his phone?
It was on the phone.
Again, February 1st, 1:53. More news for Jax?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, may we push sidebar briefly?
You may. Do we need the court reporter?
Yes, please. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Hernandez?
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Detective.
Good afternoon, sir.
Sir, whenever you did the forensic analysis of 456, State's Exhibit 456, the phone,
Yes, sir.
you stated that you tried to see if it would go on a Bluetooth. Is that correct?
You asked me if it would go onto Bluetooth?
Yes.
I'm not sure I understand what you're asking.
Okay. In other words, did you do an analysis of the Bluetooth on a Corolla in this case?
There was some analysis. Myself and Detective Hector Quintana went to the police impound warehouse, and we attempted to conduct a forensic analysis of the radio.
Yes.
But the prosecutors told us that they didn't want us to follow through with that.
I have no other questions, Your Honor.
Redirect.
In order to analyze the car, would you have had to destroy it, essentially?
Yes, we would have to dismantle the dash, pull the dash apart, remove the stereo and the infotainment system from the vehicle, completely destroy the radio, and in the same fashion that we examine the phone, we would have to use heat and chemicals to desolder the data chip from the logic board that's inside the vehicle's infotainment system. So it would have been destroyed, yes.
No, nothing.
Ms. Wright, are you going to have any questions?
This one.
All right, bring in the Richardson jury then, please. All right, folks, you can take your seats. And welcome back. Ms. Wright, did you have any cross-examination? Okay. Then may this witness be excused.
Yes, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, thank you, Detective. You're
Thank you, sir.
excused. Why don't you may call your next witness?
Your Honor, the state calls Richard Kosick.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that testimony you give to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Sir, could you please introduce yourself to the juries and spell your last name for the record?
My name is Richard Kosick, K-O-C-I-K.
Where do you work?
I work for the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office Latent Print Unit Crime Laboratory.
And what is your position in the
I'm the Latent Print Supervisor.
How long have you been employed there?
19 years.
And did you have any prior experience in a similar field?
Yes.
What was that?
Prior to my taking the position in Jacksonville, I was a member of the New York City Police Department, assigned to their Forensic Investigation Division, and held the rank of Detective Investigator.
What are your official duties in your current position?
Basically, it's the same as the latent print examiner. We compare and analyze latent print evidence that's submitted from crime scenes, and our laboratory has forensic equipment where we can process evidence that's submitted from the crime scene for latent print development.
Do you have any specialized training in that?
Yes.
Can you just briefly describe it?
It basically goes back to the FBI, New York City Police Department, major forensic organizations, and the subject material was latent print development, latent print identification, forensic photography, and crime scene investigation.
Can you please tell the jury what an inked print is?
Well, basically an ink fingerprint is the deliberate recordings of the friction ridges on your hand, and basically what we do is we take a little bit of black printer's ink, spread it around on the friction ridges on your hands, your fingers, your toes, and your palms, and place it onto a white contrasting background. And those black ridges that you see are friction ridges.
So that's a fingerprint that's being recorded intentionally.
That's correct.
What's a latent print?
Latent prints are chance impressions. They're not readily seen, and they need to be brought forth, made visible by either chemical treatment, mechanical patterning, alternative light sources, and photography.
So those are what we leave behind every day, unintentionally?
That's correct.
Have you had occasion to identify a person by comparing latent fingerprints with known inked fingerprints?
Yes.
What does it mean if you have a latent print of value?
A latent print of value is one that has enough information within the fingerprint to make it useful for comparison purposes and or later identification.
And what does it mean if you have a latent print of no value?
No value print would be the opposite, where there isn't enough information or friction ridge detail to render it useful for comparison purposes or identification purposes.
What kinds of surfaces can a person leave a fingerprint on?
Basically, the best surfaces would be some type of shiny metal or glass. Plastic is also a good transfer method. Basically, smooth and shiny is the best.
Okay. Is it possible for a person to touch a surface and not leave a fingerprint?
Absolutely, happens all the time.
And why is that?
Well, even under the best controlled circumstances, there's no guarantee that a person will leave the transfer. And that's usually due to atmospheric conditions like excessive heat, high humidity, moisture, and you have to take into consideration the object itself, whether it's a textured material, whether it's dirty and covered with debris.
And how are fingerprints compared and identifications made from those comparisons?
The two are placed side by side with adequate magnification and lighting, and we put them one next to each other, and we look for minute friction ridge detail in both the inked or a latent fingerprint or two sets of ink prints. And when they both line up in the same relative position, that person can be identified as the donor of the print, or if they don't, that person will be excluded as the donor.
I want to direct your attention to the state of Florida versus Henry Hayes and Kwame Richardson. Were you asked to do a latent print analysis in this case?
Yes.
Did you assist Detective Pfister in processing the suspect car in this case, which was a Toyota Corolla?
Yes.
Can you explain the process by which that occurred?
Which one?
For the Toyota Corolla, the exterior of the vehicle? Like, what would be the process for processing it for fingerprints?
Basically, it's a visual examination, and it's done with alternative light sources.
Okay. Your Honor, permission to approach?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm now showing you what's been moved into evidence as State's Exhibit 390. Do you recognize this?
Yes, I do.
What is it?
It's a set of, it's a latent case that was submitted for analysis into our unit.
And does that contain latent prints from the exterior of the Toyota Corolla that we were discussing?
Yes, that's correct.
And how many of them are there?
4.
Were you able to use those latent prints to make a comparison in this case?
No, after the analysis, they were determined to be of no value for any consideration for comparison.
Okay. Do you also recall processing window tint from the exterior of that vehicle?
Yes.
Permission to publish the jury.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm now showing the jury State's Exhibit 344 and 345. Mr. Kosa, did you also check this tinting for fingerprints?
Yes, it was examined.
How was that done?
Visual examination first, and what we used, we applied sticky side powder to the adhesive part of the window tint.
Were you able to find latent prints on those items?
No, the results were negative.
Okay. So from the exterior of the vehicle and the tint, there were no latent prints of value that you were able to use for comparison in this case?
Yes, that's correct.
Are you able to conclude anything from that?
No.
No further questions.
Cross. All right, may this witness be excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, Detective. You're excused.
Thank you.
Length of next witness? Approximate. All right, a long one. Let's take an afternoon break real quick, folks, and then we'll continue on with the trial. I'll be back at 3:45. Do enjoy your break, okay?